I quit nicotine after using nicotine every single day in some form for 8 years. Let's talk about it. So any kind of habit that's disgusting or addiction or whatever you want to call it is embarrassing to talk about. It's embarrassing for me to make this video, but I thought I'd make it to kind of help anyone. A video of mine blew up on TikTok, which is absolutely wild, to like 1.8 million views. There seem to be a lot of people doing this, especially when it comes to quitting vaping rather than quitting smoking. So I thought it'd be a good time to maybe just make this video. Let's get into it. We're going to talk about why I'm doing this, week 1, week 2, week 3, what I use to help me quit, and kind of the benefits that I felt already from quitting. So let's get into it. So let's first provide a little bit of background about me, my relationship with nicotine, smoking and vaping. So as I said, I have been using nicotine in some form for 8 years, literally every single day, which is terrifying. But I used to smoke, so I smoked for about 4 to 5 years. Anywhere kind of in that time could have been maybe 5 cigarettes a day up to like 10, sometimes like 20 a day. I then decided to quit and move to vaping. So I've been vaping for about 4 years. And I always used the vapes with the e-liquid, so I never used like disposable vapes. And then in the past kind of year, I've kind of moved very much onto mainly using the disposable vapes, which one obviously is really, really bad for the environment and that bothers me. And 2, it is like 20 milligram of nicotine in a, for example, Lost Mary, versus what I was using in e-liquid was 3 milligrams. So it is much, much stronger. And I feel like I very much became addicted to the process of that, and of going to the shop and continuously buying these disposable vapes, even though I had my like normal vape with the much lower liquid at home. So I would say over the past kind of like year of doing that, I've always been like, God, this is really expensive, like I should kind of back off or like slow down with these like disposable vapes, or even just use like my normal vape. But obviously I didn't, and I'll be completely honest, this is not a New Year's resolution, this is not something I wanted to do. It sounds awful, but I really enjoyed vaping, and before that I really enjoyed smoking. I mean, I might be wrong, but I don't think people really do these things that are so bad for them if they don't enjoy it, or at least think that they're enjoying it. So yeah, I didn't actually want to quit, but I got like a little bit ill, nothing serious, just like a bit sick. On New Year's Eve, I just decided like, okay, I'm not gonna vape, because you know when you're poorly, your throat hurts, you don't really think, oh, vaping's good for me. So then I stopped for about a day, and I was like, if I can do like a day, surely I can do longer. And I kind of just had this idea in my mind of like, okay, let's see how long I can do. So it's not that I was like this grand plan of wanting to quit. It just happened, and to be honest with you, it has been extremely difficult. It's been really, really testing, but I am really glad that I have. So week 1 was absolutely brutal, I will not lie. It's really embarrassing to kind of open up about this, because obviously it's just embarrassing that a little flavoured like air stick, battery, whatever, like has such a power over you. But yeah, it was really, really bad. Obviously you've got the kind of nicotine withdrawals coming out your system up until like day 3. I think it's 72 hours and then it's pretty much all gone. So like I was not feeling my best. I was headachy, I was really grouchy, I just felt quite sick, I felt just awful. So that was really hard. I would say day 3 was probably the hardest, and then moving forward towards the end of that week, I just started eating so much food. I just couldn't stop eating. I think that was my way of like distracting myself. And then it kind of did ease off into week 2. I was like, oh my gosh, we're in week 2, like we've done a week. This means that I can do another week and another week and another week. That's how I've been like doing it in my brain. Just like 1 day, 1 week, like 1 month, and I'm hoping if we just keep doing that, we will get there in the end. What started to happen is everything that I was doing was more important than vaping, or like thinking about vaping. So week 2 wasn't too bad, and I have to say week 3, I am thinking so much less about vaping, like so much less about nicotine, about wanting to go to the shop and buy something. Like so much less. The things that I did, they're tiny things that seem really insignificant, but I do believe that maybe without them I would have probably cracked. So in those first days I did a lot of like research, let's say, on TikTok about kind of what people use, their experiences to kind of help them through like quitting. And a lot of people did say they use the Carr book. I'm going to be completely honest, I tried to use that book a long time ago when I first tried to quit smoking, and it didn't do it for me. So straight off the bat I was kind of feeling a bit negative about it, but I know that a lot of people have so much success with it. So I don't want to discredit that, it's just not something I chose to do. Also, I think because I wasn't thinking about quitting, it wasn't like a plan, that book very much takes you through. It tells you to not stop vaping until the end of the book, and I'd already stopped, so I was like, I don't really want to go back there. So it just wasn't for me. I just chose not to do that. I also chose not to do the kind of Nicorette or the kind of nicotine gum or anything with nicotine in. I just didn't want to do it because, like I say, after that 72 hours the nicotine was out my system, and I didn't want to introduce it back into my system because then it, like, in my brain I was like, the cycle will just start again when I don't use it anymore. So what I did do were very basic things. I found this wonderful woman on TikTok. I can't remember her handle off the top of my head, but if I find it I will add it to the description, because honestly she did a playlist about vaping and quitting vaping, and it was absolutely amazing. It was incredible. And she said to get one of these, okay? So I have never been a fan of these cups, never really liked them. They're just annoying and big and whatever, but obviously they're kind of vape-like. So I bought one of these straight away. Her advice in the video was, obviously a lot of people use like menthol vapes, and there's kind of that like ice hit at the back of your throat. Even if it's not menthol, like you do have that kind of like at the back of your throat. So she said pack it with ice, put mint in it. I never used like menthol, but I did get this. I packed it with ice. I got like a new kind of like squash, you know, like fruit juice flavour, and I filled this with squash and ice, and I just, every time I wanted a vape I just used it. Brilliant, because it keeps you really hydrated, but also it just made me just feel like it was the hand to mouth like action. To this day I swear by this. We're now on day 24 and I still have this by my side at all times. The next thing I did was use chewing gum, just like normal chewing gum. I got these, which are like the extra refreshers. So these like strawberry lemon flavour. The one I got before was like a different flavour. But these were really helpful because they're like bigger than normal chewing gum. They are like this. And they obviously release like very kind of strong like juice, like lemony strawberry flavour into your mouth. So it's almost like it tastes a little like vape like, especially those disposable vapes. So I really found this helpful. I literally just ate so much chewing gum, not ate, you know, like chewed so much chewing gum those first definitely like probably 10 days. I just found it really useful to like be doing something with my mouth, and then I'd use this at the same time, and just, it would just help. I don't know why, it just did. The next thing was I decided to keep myself busy, keep my hands busy. So like week 2 I started knitting. I've always kind of wanted to like do something that's just like calm and relaxing, but I was like, oh, I can't be asked to like try and start. But now I'm not sat there vaping in an evening just sat on my sofa. I have my hands free and I can knit, so I'm learning to knit. Really useful thing to do, because I mean, whether it's knitting, crochet, or you're just doing something or learning something new even, I just think it's so useful to just keep your hands busy, keep you occupied, and also you're learning something new. Next thing that really helped me is that I got this app on, I think probably like day 3 or something, called Quit Vaping. It's literally just called Quit Vaping. It's like a little green app. Absolutely bloody brilliant, because it shows you how many puffs you haven't had, how many disposable vapes you haven't bought, how much nicotine you've avoided, and also money and time. I just thought it was brilliant. Like seeing that money add up was, you know, really cool, and seeing how many vapes I haven't bought was like, I don't know, I just really enjoyed it, so that was definitely helpful. And the last thing I'll say is I went out for drinks probably, I reckon like day 6, day 7 maybe. And if you are someone that knows about vaping or vapes or smokes or whatever, you'll know obviously there are certain like trigger points. So for me, like a morning coffee is like a big trigger point. Kind of going for drinks is a big trigger point. Being around people that are vaping or smoking is like triggering, and like it just enhances your cravings. So what I did do, because I was pretty certain that if I went for a drink I would be running off to the vape man as fast as possible, so what I did is the day before I actually bought a 0 nicotine vape. I think it was called like by someone called like chill.com or something. So I went to a vape shop, like a proper one, and I got this vape. It was like a disposable vape, and I took it out with me on that night. And I'm not gonna lie, if I hadn't have had that, I probably would have cracked. Now I know a lot of people are kind of anti the 0 nicotine vapes, and to be honest, obviously they're still bad for you, but the alternative was going to like a nicotine vape and breaking. So I did feel like, because I prepared myself, I didn't allow myself to break, which was really useful. I will also say that I did kind of like gaslight myself into believing that a 0 nicotine vape did have nicotine in it. I was like, it was not like I used it all the time, or when I was at home I was like, whatever. I literally kept it in a cupboard, and I was like, I'm not going to use that, that's so bad for me, that's so bad for me. Almost like I was gonna break like my quitting. A lot of people have kind of mixed views on that. For me, it was more the fact that I didn't want to put nicotine back into my body, and so the actual like motion and the actual like vaping didn't bother me that much. It was more that I didn't want to kind of go back into using nicotine. So that is that. But I will say the biggest thing that has kind of been really useful for me is actually doing things that I wouldn't do if I vaped, or what kind of having like a vaping habit stopped me from doing. So for example, like I used to always go to coffee shops, but I'd always get takeout coffee so I could like vape with it, or I'd sit outside if I went to pubs and stuff. Whereas now I can enjoy going into coffee shops and sitting like that. Obviously I'm only 24 days in right now when I'm recording this, but I have noticed benefits already. So yeah, let's talk about them. So the first thing, and the most kind of visual thing, is I'd say that my skin has really like just really got so much clearer. Obviously yes, I'm wearing makeup right now, but I just feel like I've got a little bit more of like a glow, whereas before I do feel like my skin wasn't like problematic, but I do feel like it always looked a little bit dull. Obviously that might not be to do with vaping, but I have heard that there is quite a like direct correlation between kind of obviously your skincare and yeah, your internal health, obviously. The next thing is that I was having this is probably the most important one, and I didn't think about it until like this week, but before Christmas I was having really severe chest pain, and I never thought that it was vaping, which I don't know how I never thought that, but literally I would say from like day 2 the chest pain isn't there anymore, which is mental. Obviously might not be direct correlation, but I am assuming that it is, which is crazy, absolutely crazy. Yeah, I would say that the biggest benefit for me has been, and this sounds really weird, but I have like an internal feeling that is just calmer now. I don't know why, I feel like vaping probably did just increase my anxiety like mad. I always think, obviously you always think it's like a stress reliever, but it's not. It just like is a cycle of stress. Yeah, I just feel better. I think the thing is with vaping, and I've thought a lot about this, it's a bit like avoidant. It kind of passes time, like you're doing something so you feel like the time is passing. It takes you outside, you know, if you are, for example, with friends or whatever, you're gonna nip outside for a vape, and in some respects that's really good because you can have like your moment. If you're feeling a bit socially anxious or whatever, you can always rely on something. But on the other hand, it's like it's always taking you away from situations, you know, even if you go out for like dinner or brunch or something, your mind is always thinking like, I can't wait to go outside and vape. Like, that is just so sad. Like, you're just not enjoying the moment. So one of the biggest benefits is that I've felt more in the moment. I've not felt like dragged away by something. So that is just a huge benefit, to be honest. And also I'm really proud of myself for kind of getting through it. And I think that in itself obviously improves like your self-esteem, self-confidence, etc. That's kind of the benefits that I've seen so far. Obviously I know there's like scientific benefits, but I'm not going to speak on that because I'm not obviously a professional. I don't know what I'm on about. The whole process for me has been really hard, which is embarrassing. It's embarrassing to talk about that, but you know, I was vaping consistently, vaping on the way to the gym, being sat on the sofa, vaping in the car, vaping on a walk. Like, no joke, a vape would never really leave my hand, which is just mad. Like, I've gone from that to like this, where in this kind of stage I feel like I don't think about it that much, and I feel like it's just crazy. I was so obsessed with something that now I don't really think about that much. Like, it is hard, don't get me wrong, it's still hard. I would love a vape, but you know what, like my mantra I think through all of this has been like, quitting is hard. Like, I don't want to have to go back and do it all again, and I think that's kind of keeping me going because it was frigging awful, and I don't want to go back there and have to do that again. And also, this might be quite specific to me and this might not help other people because they might feel like it's a bit of like a cop-out mentality, but my thought process going through this was like, okay, if I really want a vape, I can go and get one tomorrow. And then every single day I didn't want one that day, and I just kept telling myself that. It's like going back to saying, you know, if I can do a day, I can do another day. If I can do a week, I can do another week. That's kind of been my process. And also, even if, you know, at some point I go back to it for a little bit, I have managed to do, even if tomorrow I picked up a vape, I've managed to do like 24 days. If I manage to do a month, 6 months, 6 years, whatever, and then go back to like nicotine for a little bit, do you know what, I can do it, so I can do it again. And I think that's my mentality. I know a lot of people will probably think, oh, that's a bit of a cop-out mentality, but for me it's kind of helped. It's kind of helped take that kind of pressure off. Like, you know, when you're told that you can't do something, you just want to do it more and more. That doesn't work for me. Like, I just do want it more and more. So I've tried to be quite like compassionate with myself and just taking it day by day, really. So yeah, that is kind of my roundup about quitting nicotine. If you have any questions, please do let me know. I know this video was a little bit off topic for my channel, and I know it's a bit of a weird one, but I did think it was important to talk about. I know, like, it is embarrassing, so not everyone wants to talk about it, but if this has helped anyone, then that is an absolute win. If you are on this journey, let me know. We can get through it together. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. If you did like the content, please do subscribe, give it a like, leave a comment. I really appreciate it. Growing my YouTube in 2025 is something I really want to focus on, so I would really appreciate any of your support. Bye guys.